Sorry, I'd like to call the meeting to order. Would you please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? Thank you. Could we please have roll call?
Yes, you may. Councilmember Shacker.
Here.
Councilmember Perkins.
Here.
Councilmember Phillips.
Here.
Councilmember McCafferty.
Here.
Councilmember Armstrong.
Here.
Vice Mayor Granillo.
Here.
Mayor Miller.
Here.
And our town attorney, Andrew McGuire, is present.
All right. Number 2, introductions, presentations, and proclamations. We have an update from Vinny. I always say your name wrong, Vinny. Gallegos of Central Yavapai Metropolitan Planning Organization, also known as SIMPO.
All those pronunciations worked. They
Okay.
were all close enough for me.
I like Vinny the best.
I like that too. I could be your cousin Vinny, Jeff. Mr. Mayor, Council, thank you for allowing me to speak today. I'm going to have a few staff members come up, but we will be brief with you. We're just here to give the annual update for Central Yavapai Metropolitan Planning Organization, or SIMPO for short. And to go to the next slide, do I just click? There it is. So the vision and the mission of SIMPO. The vision of SIMPO is to promote and maintain a regional coordinated transportation system for the safe and efficient movement of people, goods, and services. I put in bold, just for today's presentation, that, again, we're a regional organization that focuses on transportation. Our mission is to use regional leadership in planning and promoting a comprehensive multimodal transportation system. So again, the key words to focus in on as we exercise the leadership in the planning that we do. Just a little bit of trivia for those that aren't familiar with an MPO or what a SIMPO is. SIMPO is a government organization. MPOs exist throughout the United States. There's about 8 of them in Arizona, about 420 in the United States. Anytime the U.S. Census designates an area as an urbanized area, like they did with Prescott and Prescott Valley in the year 2000, the governor establishes an MPO. The governor of Arizona did that in 2003, and today we operate under an intergovernmental agreement with the town of Chino Valley, Prescott, Prescott Valley, Dewey, Humboldt, and Yavapai County. I serve at the pleasure of an executive board of elected officials from each of those communities. Representing you on the SIMPO board is Councilman Tom Armstrong. He's on the board with Chairman, who's the chairman of SIMPO right now, Yavapai County Supervisor Craig Brown, Vice Chairman Dewey Humboldt Mayor John Yu, Secretary Treasurer Mayor Phil Good, and Mayor Palguda from the town of Prescott Valley, along with a State Transportation Board member, Gary Knight. I won't read this list to you, just know that I work with a technical committee and you are represented by your Public Works Director, so we work directly with your staff on our projects, on our priorities, on things that we do. So Frank Marbury is on the technical committee representing you all here. So I only have a couple more slides. SIMPO has been incredibly successful the last couple years in working with our state legislature. Last year, Senator Fan, Representative Wynn, Representative Burgess, to get one-time transportation funding that's much needed in our region. We were able to get money, and I listed the 3 projects up at the top, but fast forward to this year. The SIMPO staff, the TAC, and the board have been working incredibly hard to look at what are our next priorities. And it just so happens that the town of Chino Valley is high on our priority. So we've identified 2 projects that equal a request of the state of Arizona of $28.3 million. We're going to be asking as rural Arizona and greater Arizona outside of Phoenix and Tucson, we're going to ask for a $300 million investment to rural Arizona for transportation. 28.3 of that would come to the SIMPO region. 18.4 million would come to the town of Chino Valley for improvements on State Route 89. And that improvements, I'll show you on the next slide, and before I go there, the other project, just for everyone knows, is Glassford Hill widening for almost $10 million. So we were able to work with Representative Selena Bliss, who has sponsored a bill and has got co-sponsors of Representative Wynn and Senator Bennett to sponsor House Bill 2097. What this will effectively do is provide for this project $18,400,000 to widen State Route 89, excuse me, between roads 3 North and 5 North. It would include a roundabout at 5 North and it would take that basically 2-lane highway to a 4-lane highway. So much needed for safety and capacity. This has been an effort by SIMPO in the region, as you know, coming from Prescott to here to continue to improve State Route 89. So this is the next segment in that improvement. So as I move on to the next slide, we have great support. We have enthusiasm. We have a bill. But I'm preaching to the choir here. It's politics. All sorts of things happen in politics. So I do not take for granted what we have today, but I am hoping with your voices expressing support, and the representatives do want to see some local skin in the game in these projects. So they are asking for a local contribution of around $2 million. So if this is successful, there would need to be that conversation. I will tell you, I spoke to Supervisor Brown in Yavapai County, and they are a willing partner in that local contribution. I'm looking to talk with staff and also talk with ADOT as to that contribution. But I do want to put that on staff and mayor and council's radar. If successful, that'll be a follow-up conversation. And my last slide is we were successful in working with Senator Mark Kelly this past year to receive $480,000 of congressionally directed spending for the ultimate widening of State Route 89A between 89 and Glassford Hill. Again, it's currently 4 lanes. It needs to go to 6 lanes with growth and development around the airport and surrounding areas. So with that said, Mr. Mayor, I'm going to allow my other staff members to come up, briefly share some updates, and then I'll come up and answer any questions you have. Thank you.
Thank you, Vin.
And this is Lindsay Post coming up from SIMPO. Lindsay?
Hi, Mr. Mayor, members of
Good evening.
council. This is my first time in front of this body, so I just want to thank you for having me. Thank you for your service to your town and for your partnership with SIMPO, especially Councilmember Tom Armstrong. I am the project manager of several projects within SIMPO, but the 2 I want to highlight for you today are the 2 most visible right now. The first being the State Route 69 Urbanized Master Corridor Plan. As we all know, because we all travel it, it's a tough corridor to travel, especially during rush hour, especially when you want to get to school or work and you're already late. So this is a 15-mile corridor between Prescott and Dewey-Humboldt. There's about 45,000 cars a day. That's the latest report through the ADOT system taken in 2021. The purpose of this plan is to deliver recommendations for implementation for improvements on SR 69. Most of us would assume that means widening, and that's the obvious solution from 4 to 6 lanes. As you know, if you drive there a lot, there already are segments that are 3 lanes. And as you can see in that 4th bullet point, there is a mile in front of Lowe's, I believe that's Frontier Village, that's being widened right now. With a plan in place, you would think the obvious solution is, of course, to widen, but this 4th bullet point kind of captures the reality of our existence in public service. So it took 10 years and $13 million just to get that 1 mile of that section widened. And so that's the reality of what we're dealing with, and that's with constant effort through our part at SIMPO and ADOT and City of Prescott. The next project I'd like to highlight for you today very quickly is the Sundog Connector Design Concept Report. We're about halfway through that 18-month project to come up with a conceptual design of a Sundog Connector corridor, and that's on Glassford Hill. And while this doesn't, of course, it's not in SIMPO, in Chino Valley, Frank Marbury, Tom Armstrong offer their expertise and their technical assistance to help us with projects like this. And of course, residents of Chino Valley are end users of these facilities, so it's important that we get input from the members. So as you can see, there's been some commitment already from about 25 years ago starting, and then onward. You can see some commitments, for example, the 2 terminus points that we've all been driving by for years and years that just seem to sit there. SIMPO's work is to evaluate the health of the regional transportation network, and Sundog Connector could help toward that end in helping us be more resilient as a region. We are considered a transportation disadvantaged region by the U.S. Census, meaning we don't have a lot of alternatives modes of transportation. Also, if there was a major accident or geological event, there's no way around. We're just all stuck there. So that's what resiliency refers to there. And then the Regional Transportation Plan. This is a 25-year long-range planning document. It's updated every 5 years. At the time of this publication for 2045, the Chino Valley General Plan from 2014 is what was used to help develop the priorities and recommendations for Chino Valley within this RTP. I just wanted to highlight a few priorities that were in that iteration that came out about 3.5 years ago. And you can see what Mr. Gallegos had just discussed is represented there in that top left box. The SR 89 widening was listed as a priority then, and will endeavor to update the RTP in the next year. Next up is Brent Stotler. She's going to discuss with you the regional safety plan and a couple more of what she's been working on. So, Brent, come on up.
Thank you, Lindsay. Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm Brent Stotler. I'm a planner with SIMPO. It's great to be with you this evening. Lindsay referenced the Regional Transportation Plan. It serves as a backbone and a long-range planning document for all of the activities that SIMPO undertakes, but another incredibly critical plan that we work on a routine interval of about every 5 years is a regional safety plan. This plan crunches crash data from all of our public safety agencies, and we work with a consultant who specializes in this type of data, and they go through a process of analysis and create heat maps for us and many things that depict where problem intersections and crash data points to mitigations being needed in our local regional roadway system. This particular table gives you an idea of what some of the larger metrics are that they're looking at. We're obviously always looking at fatal accidents. We are looking at serious injury crashes, minor injury, possible injury, which is an unknown status at the end of an injury investigation, and then no injury. And you'll see that we've got Chino Valley's statistics highlighted for you. I want to point out that the top line in bold is SIMPO's regional planning boundary. So that is not the entire western Yavapai County. That is not the entire county. That is simply SIMPO's 400 square mile planning boundary. So it represents about 5% of the county itself, but this is the planning area that we are concerned with and that we have our consultants study. So that is where these numbers come from. We'll go a little bit further into detail on Chino Valley's metrics. So the study period for the current plan that's being updated is from 2017 to 2021. You can see in the parentheses, those smaller numbers represent Chino Valley's share of the larger number. So in the percentage of total crashes in the region, Chino Valley is sitting at about 10.8% of the total crashes in the SIMPO planning boundary. Fatalities, you had 4 of the 56 fatalities in the town of Chino Valley. That represents about 7.1%. I would make a note to you all that ADOT establishes a goal of reducing fatalities to 0 across the state. And because we are part and parcel of their work, we also, by extension, adopt that goal. And we work with our public safety officials and your public works departments and road departments to make sure that this safety data is downloaded to each jurisdiction within our planning boundary, and you all have access to that data so that you can focus your traffic planning in the appropriate ways to mitigate crashes in your town. Total serious injury, obviously, 33 of 265. You had about 12.5% of the serious injury crashes. And then a little bit of good news. Of this Chino Valley total, the percentage of crashes with no injury at all was about 73.5. So that's a nice reflection. I want to highlight a regional plan that we're about to start. It's an active community, an active transportation plan, and we've branded it the ACT UP. That stands for Active Community Transportation Unified Plan. This is a bicycle and pedestrian focused plan, but it will also include some other ways that we get around. For example, in more rural communities like Chino Valley, you might actually see horses going down a roadway or on a soft trail. Some of those activities will be picked up, identified through this planning process. What an active transportation plan does is looks at the region as a whole, looks for regionally significant routes that are taken by people using either pedestrian and bicycles for their primary modes of transportation, and looks to improve facilities and safety in those facilities for those users. They are more vulnerable road users, especially bicyclists. I think we all realize that bicycle users comprise a great deal of our crash history in the region. So we realize that the region is not a one-size-fits-all region. We've got unique properties in each jurisdiction. So while you will get a regional look through this active transportation plan, there will also be a subcomponent that focuses on each jurisdiction. And one of those will be for Chino Valley. So we'll be meeting with your staff, we'll be meeting with your public safety officials, and we'll be going through a planning process over about the next year. Schools will also be a critical sub-focus of the plan. We want people who are walking and bicycling to school campuses to have the highest safety facilities available. So we have already met with your school superintendent, and we intend to engage the community, including the schools, in our conversation. Public transportation. That top photo should be pretty recognizable to all of you. We have a real champion in the town of Chino Valley and in the region. YRT has been in existence for over a decade and is a very visible part of the Chino Valley landscape. We appreciate that they have a fixed route service, reliable connections that people have come to expect, and some regional connectivity is available there too. So we support YRT in their efforts to secure and resecure their ADOT funding so that they can continue their important rural transportation system. The bottom picture is a new system in our region, Yavaline. The town of Prescott Valley actually engaged in CARES Act funding, receiving CARES Act funding that was available to the region, and decided to go ahead and launch a microtransit system. This is a demand response system where rides are accessed through either an 800 number or by using an app. And early ridership data is very strong. Most of these vans are at capacity throughout the day, and a full 30% of rides are being attributed to rides to and from employment. So that is a very critical piece of information and provides a great proof of concept for Yavaline. We look forward to supporting Yavaline as it grows. With that, we want to make sure that we point you to our new quarterly newsletter. We have a huge email distribution list that we are sending this out to, but we've also brought a big stack of them for your lobby area. And I'll turn it back over to Vinny now for questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor and Council, just in closing, again, really want to thank Councilman Armstrong for his representation, his advocacy for $18 million to come to the town of Chino Valley for economic development, safety, and capacity. So, Councilman Armstrong, thank you for your leadership on that. Mr. Mayor, Council, yes, well, there was...
Benny, you need to tell them that neither Frank or I gave Lindsay any money on the Sundog, though.
No envelopes were passed around, exactly. Mr. Mayor, Council, happy to answer any questions or comments you may have.
Any
for us.
questions over here? Annie?
I have one question, actually. Thank you for everything you guys do. So I understand the widening in the roundabout at 5 North, and I understand we only represent inside the town limits of Chino Valley. However, the corridor between Chino and Paulden has been a nightmare. Do you have like a snippet of what's ahead for that?
You betcha. Mr. Mayor and Councilmember Perkins, thank you very much. Yeah, you know, if you look at regional planning, you know, with again, there's a whole list of needs all over the place, and it seems like we've tried to address the more critical, which again is kind of that Prescott Airport out to Chino Valley, but hopefully you do see that direction going. There are individual segment projects that are going to be addressing, you know, areas around Little Ranch Road as you get out to Paulden, those intersections that we're all familiar with. So the reality is we are moving down the corridor. We're getting up to 5 North, and then there are spot issues that are being resolved. All that to say that SIMPO is intending to do like Lindsay mentioned, the State Route 69 Master Corridor Plan. We're going to do the same thing with 89 in about a year and a half to ensure whatever is remaining that needs to be addressed in the next reasonable amount of time, that we identify that and we prioritize that with you and the public. And we do hear from them on a regular basis. So all that to say we are making progress. I wish it was sooner than later, but
We all
it's government.
Thank you.
Eric? Sherry? John? Tom? Do you have any questions?
I've
for-
been mentioned enough, I think.
Thank you very much, and thank you for what you guys are doing for us in our
You're
community.
welcome. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. Appreciate it.
All right, on to item 3, call the public. Aaron?
Call to the public is an opportunity for the public to address the council on any issue within the jurisdiction of the council that is not on the agenda. Public comment is at the discretion of the council and not required by law. Individuals are limited to speak for 3 minutes. Yielding of time will not be permitted. The total time for call to the public may be up to 30 minutes per meeting. Council action taken as a result of public comment will be limited to directing staff to study the matter, scheduling the matter for further consideration and decision at a later date, or responding to criticism. Disrespectful behavior will not be tolerated. This includes loud outbursts, profanity, and disruptive discussions among our audience. I do have one submitted speaker comment card from Susie Jarvis.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
It's so nice to be here again. I came a few months ago, Chino Valley Pickleball, and we're ready to take you guys on into a game. Are you ready? So I did print something out for you so you kind of know what we're looking at. And I just want to remind you that we are filling those courts all the time. 37 degrees this morning. I had 17 people out there playing pickleball. Yes. We also have families coming out, which is super exciting. We are giving free lessons. We're hesitant only because we are way overgrown. We have people coming out and we cannot put them on enough courts out there. So yes, we are hoping to get some courts, but let me tell you why. You know, this is not just for my age people. This is for every age. We have the families. We actually had some young kids playing basketball out there one time. We converted them. We did. And how we converted them is we have had such support by Cindy Thomas, and I want to thank her publicly for everything that she has done. She bought me 4 new paddles, which we promptly gave those kids, and we put them to work. We also explained to them that you play, you have to pick up the balls. So we are just wanted to let you know that this is something that is going to help the town of Chino Valley. This is not just something that's going to help a few seniors out there running around trying to stay healthy, but it's for everybody. And my new board this year, we have so many exciting things planned. So be looking for an invitation to some fall games because we're going to challenge you guys and the police department and the fire department, just to let you know. So it's just, you know, I wanted to really come and tell you today that we're going to keep coming and letting you guys see our smiley faces. You know, we have grown from probably 10 players to 90 players we had last year, 90. There are days that the courts are filled in the morning, there are people playing in the afternoon, and there are people playing in the evening until it gets dark. And we utilize that. And we also want to thank you for allowing us to have those courts out there, getting that equipment, and giving us an area to lock it up, because it is so important that we lock it up, because that's our playtime every day. And so I just wanted to come, and you will see me again. I will be coming out here. And just a little reminder that, you know, when we get those courts, we can do tournaments. That brings also people into Chino, having lunch at Chino, having breakfast at Chino. You know, that's where we want to be. We really want to grow those courts. And I know if you probably have driven by the great courts over in Prescott, but we can do that too. We can do it here. We're an amazing town. I'm so blessed to have landed here for the rest of my life and my retirement, and be able to come here and actually talk about what we can do. So I hope you'll get a chance and read all the little things I have here, and be looking for that invitation for the fall, because we are going to challenge you. Thank you very,
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you.
That was the only submitted card I had.
Okay.
I got a bum knee. I'm out already. I've seen them. They're a force to be reckoned with.
The numbers go down over 65, so just cut me out now.
All right. Current event summaries and report. This item is for information only. The mayor, any council member, or town manager may present a brief summary or report of current events. If listed below, there may also be a presentation of information requested by the mayor and council, and questions may be answered. No action will be taken. I have nothing. How about over here? Am I right?
I do. This is in response. I am on the board of the Chino Valley Memorial Foundation, and recently someone came to call to the public and was concerned about one of the plaques being the wrong model airplane. We have been working with that issue, and I just want to give you the verbiage. The Chino Valley Memorial Foundation has reviewed the concerns brought to the council regarding the Flight 73 plaque at the 9/11 Memorial. We understand that the aircraft portrayed is a 747 and not a 757 used in the attack. We are committed to correcting this error. However, we have encountered a few issues. The original company that cut the plaque is no longer in business, and there are significant costs related to this change. As this memorial was created from private donations, we must raise the money for this project or forgo other projects our funds have been earmarked for. At this point, the foundation has determined that this issue does need to be corrected, and when the funding becomes available, we will readdress it. And with that, I yield.
Thank you.
I'm good.
John? All right. Town manager? Uh-oh.
Oh, you got a slideshow too? You were getting up to stuff.
Getting up.
Oh, no.
Oh.
Police Chief Chuck Bing, you please come up.
You
So
got one of him smiling.
I know. I had the honor, as many of you did, of being present this morning when our police chief was presented ESGR Patriot Award. And let me tell you a little bit about that. ESGR, who are they? They are a Department of Defense office. They were established in 1972 to promote cooperation and understanding between reserve component service members and their civilian employers, and also to assist in the resolution of conflicts arising from an employee's military commitment. And what is the Patriot Award? The first in ESGR's series of awards is the Patriot Award. An employee serving in the National Guard or Reserve, or the spouse of a Guard or Reserve member, may nominate individual supervisors and bosses for support provided directly to the nominated service member and his or her family. The Patriot Award reflects the efforts made to support citizen warriors through a wide range of measures, including flexible schedules, time off prior to and after deployment, caring for families, and granting leaves of absence if needed. So this morning, Chief Wynn and the Chino Valley Police Department were recognized as a patriotic employer for contributing to national security and protecting liberty and freedom by supporting employee participation in America's National Guard and Reserve Force. The award was presented by the 3 ESGR representatives, Larry Gray, Larry T. Hobbs, and Michael Leonard. Mr. Gary is ESGR's Arizona Military Outreach Coordinator, and Mr. Jacobs is the Arizona Area Chair. And that award actually sits up here before you tonight. In March, Officer Todd Cupp will be deployed for a year, leaving behind his family and employer. Officer Cupp applied and nominated Chief Wynn for this award because of the support Chief Wynn has demonstrated to him and his family. Chief Wynn went above and beyond, supporting not only taking care of employment and benefits details, but also working with his team to assure Officer Cupp's wife and kids are taken care of and checked on while Officer Cupp is deployed. ESGR also presented the Chino Valley Police Department with the Department of Defense official statement of support for the Guard and Reserve for prominent display. This certificate is signed by Chief Wynn, the Secretary of Defense, and the ESGR's National Chair. His frame certificate states that the town of Chino Valley Police Department recognizes the Guard and Reserve are essential to the strength of our nation and well-being of our communities, and that CVPD joins with other employers in the pledge their support in 4 vital areas, including we will continually recognize and support our country's service members and their families in times of peace, in crisis, and in war. And I tell you, I'm so proud to be on a team with a police chief that is so supportive of his team, and I just wanted to recognize him for his efforts tonight.
Keep clapping till you smile.
Yeah, more pictures.
I think you should give a speech.
Anybody else got a camera? Feel free to come up. Chief loves these pictures.
Thank you. And thank you, Chief, for supporting Officer Cup, and thank him for his service. All right, is that it? Consent agenda. All those items listed below are considered to be routine and may be enacted by one motion. Any council member may request to remove an item from the consent agenda to be considered and discussed separately. Is there anything anybody like to remove from my right side? No. My left? I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we accept the consent agenda item as A, B, and C is listed on the agenda.
Motion made, second.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Action items. Council may vote to recess the public hearing and hold an executive session on any item on this agenda pursuant to ARS 338-431.03A3 for the purpose of discussion or consultation for legal advice with the town attorney. Executive sessions are not open to the public and no action may be taken in executive session. Item A, public hearing and consideration and possible action to recommend approval of an application from Agent Kelly Christina Gabriel for the new Series 12 restaurant liquor license for Gabby's Rustic Eats located at 1667 South State Route 89, Chino Valley. Hi.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and council members. Applicant Christina Cabral, who is in attendance this evening, has applied with the state for a Series 12 liquor license at the location of 1667 South State Route 89, Chino Valley, previously known as Bonfire. The police, planning, and fire departments have reviewed the application and recommended approval with no comments. Staff posted the establishment with the necessary notices to meet the required 20-day period from December 29th, 2022 to January 24th, 2023. As of today, staff has not received any written arguments in favor for or in opposition to the application. Upon reviewing the material provided by the Department of Liquor License and Control and conducting a public hearing, council may recommend to the State Liquor Board to grant or deny the license or vote to make no recommendation.
Okay. Thank you. Is there any questions from council on this? None. Okay, hearing none. Questions from council to the applicant? No questions there either?
No.
Okay, I'm going to declare a public hearing open. Is there anyone that would?
I did not have any comment cards for this
You do
item.
not have any
I
comment?
did not.
Is there anyone that would like to comment on this? Okay, hearing none, we're going to close the public hearing and we'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve the new Series 12 liquor license application from Agent Kelly Christina Cabral.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, item B, public hearing consideration possible action to approve a final plat for a 5-lot subdivision for property located at the south end of Camino del Sol.
All righty. Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of council. Will Dingy, Assistant Director here with the town of Chino Valley. As read before you is for your consideration for a minor subdivision final plat for the Casa del Sol subdivision. The applicant is in attendance this evening as well, if you have any questions for him. All right, so this uniquely shaped subject property is located about 370 feet south of Perkinsville Road along Camino del Sol or Salida del Sol. on the west side of Salida. The property itself is approximately 13 acres in size. The existing zoning is single-family residential, 1 acre minimum, and the existing land use is vacant. This parcel is unique as far as its shape due to the 3 island parcels within the center. Those are not considered a part of this subdivision. They were cut out many years ago. All 3 of those do currently have homes constructed on site, and they're separate owners. Mouse. Alrighty, so the plat itself consists of 5 lots. The lot size, the smallest lot size is 1.2 acres in size, and the largest is 2.2. The utilities for the site as far as water will be well, and the sewer will be, or the waste will be septic. Roads will be dedicated to the public and constructed with asphalt up to town code. The developer will also be paving and dedicating Salida del Sol, the easternmost road, as well as paving up to Perkinsville Road, that extent of Salida outside of this project development. The lot layout is pretty standard. The only one that is a little bit off or non-typical is lot 5, and that has to do with those island parcels. The applicant and developer did reach out to those 3 parcel owners and try his best to get land dedicated to those parcels, because you do have those little remnant strands here. He did successfully, or was successfully able to dedicate this section of land here to this western parcel owner, but it is my understanding that this parcel and this parcel did not want to take on the additional land itself, so it will be retained under lot 5 itself. Now, if you remember back in September of last year, there were 2 developments to the south of this, known as the Del Sol North and Del Sol South. Both of those developments were approved by council with an associated MID, which is a maintenance improvement district. And just to kind of cover this here, a maintenance improvement district acts like a homeowners association, but solely for the maintenance of open space and drainage area. A yearly assessed property tax is only applicable to those within this subdivision, and that would pay for the maintenance of those open space areas within track G and F on this plat specifically, but also within the 4 tracks to the south of those southern subdivisions. And it acts identical to the streetlight improvement district within Bright Star. Staff does recommend that the town council approve this minor subdivision final plat for Casa del Sol with the conditions of approval found in attachment 1. And I will go ahead and open it up to questions or discussion from council.
Any questions to my right?
So you said the Camino del Sol and the Salida del Sol are going to be, they're not going to be mud anymore, because that's what they are.
So not Camino won't be touched, but the Salida will. It will be asphalt to town standard.
Okay, then what is the main road going to come off of?
Salida.
Salida.
Correct.
So the Camino del Sol is still going to be mud.
They will. This subdivision will not have access through it. They'll make sure that they're not able to drive down that road to access this subdivision.
Okay, and how far? You said it's 370 feet
That is
from
correct.
Perkinsville.
Correct.
How much further would he have to go to put sewer line in, because it goes right down Perkinsville?
I believe the connection requirement is 300 feet, but I can let Frank Marbury speak on that as the Public Works Director.
Okay.
See, we want to focus planning issues right now, and then we can call Frank up.
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay.
Annie? Eric? Tom?
I got a non-related question. Seems like the last time you showed up in front of us, it was senior planner, and did I hear assistant director come out of your mouth now?
You are correct, sir.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Appreciate it.
Is that it?
That's all for me.
John? Jerry? Okay. You want to have Frank come up and answer? That's the next step anyway. Council questions of staff.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Frank Marbury, assistant to Will. So I say that he's doing a great job. So questions to confirm what Will said. The reason staff didn't recommend or require water and sewer connections is because indeed the current code set by council is when subdivisions fall within 300 feet of the nearest property line, they need to extend water and sewer, and this one was 370 feet. So it is farther than that 300-foot rule.
We couldn't get another 70 feet.
That was discussed to a great deal. So as a staff member, I will say that the code says 300 feet. So if it's 301, I'm going to say that the code says 300 feet because that's an ordinance set by council that I follow as a staff member.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Frank?
Do we have the fiscal ability to put the town 70 feet in and then he'd be within 300?
That would be a council decision.
What would a ballpark cost? Just ballpark.
To extend the 370 feet is about $200,000 for water and sewer,
Okay. So
give or take.
we extended our line 70 feet.
Mm-hmm.
What would that cost us to extend that 70 feet ballpark?
Well, it's theoretical because as it lays now, it's farther than the 300 feet, but it's about, the Peavine water line we did was about $300 a foot, so 50,000. I'm doing rough numbers, but I mean, we would have to get I would rather get an engineer cost estimate if you wanted.
No.
Like that,
I just
so.
broadly is good enough. And should, let's just say hypothetically that were the case, would that extension and plus this, would it play into our master plan potentially down the road? Would this benefit the town long-term in terms of sewer collection? Not just these 5 lots, but others.
It could. There's but most of the lots there are on well and septic already without mandatory connections. But if it extends all the way down to 2 North at some point, it would be another, for water, a loop connection. But I don't have that data in front of me as far as that cost goes. Sewer, you would max out at the top of the hill, so it wouldn't go all the way to 2 North.
I understand the rule. I get it. It's not you. I understand it. But it is very frustrating because every single opportunity we have to hook in the sewer, which is the most part, the biggest factor we can directly contribute to reduce, to recharging, we find a reason why we can't. And it gets very frustrating.
And that's, yeah.
And it's not your fault. And I understand that.
No, and that's why I alluded to some of the prior study sessions when the utility code was rewritten, that the question of the distance came up several times. And it was a question that I don't want to speak for council, but it was a big point of concern about where do you stop? So it's always a hard question. I've worked in multiple jurisdictions where we've gone anywhere from 0 to 500 feet. And depending on the jurisdiction, that usually changes. So it's a hard question to answer and always will be because there's always going to be that one development just beyond that limit.
506 inches.
So
Can we stop the background chatter?
I couldn't hear you.
Oh, that's why. There's a lot of background noise in the audience.
Oh.
Where's the attachment for the conditions? I'm trying to find it. What page number is it on?
Should have been attachment 1, I believe. Yeah. I apologize. Can we pull up, yeah. Yeah.
Well, while we're looking at that, I will add that this has gone through the technical review process and all the civil documents and plans have been approved by staff as to meeting code. As far as drainage and the streets and everything like that.
As far as the conditions themselves, 1 and 2 are boilerplate that are seen on almost every item that we do present. 3 is the only one that is different, and it's that permits shall not be issued until the maintenance improvement district has been recorded with the county.
Thank you.
Sorry, I was reading. All right. Any more questions for either Will or Frank? Nope. Okay. Thank you, gentlemen. Any questions for the applicant, or would the applicant like to make a statement? Any questions for the applicant?
I have a question.
Okay, for the applicant?
Yeah.
Okay, can you please come up, sir? Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council.
Would you have issue extending the sewer line? Since right now it's all mud, and this would be an opportune time to dig.
Financially would be, it wouldn't pencil out, obviously, for 5 lots, make it difficult.
You brought up finances. What are you selling homes for?
We haven't put prices on yet, but they're going to be quality homes. This is kind of the high end of those subdivisions. They're going to be like 2-acre lots, except for the one. The houses are going to be around 2,000 to 2,200 square feet, 3 and 4 bedroom. High-end houses, upgraded.
So you're looking at making a lot of money. Maybe you can extend.
I wouldn't say that. It's always cost and retail. And today, obviously, is a little bit different than it was a year ago. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Any other questions for Mr. Bates? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, now we're going to open a public hearing. Is there any comment cards on this one?
I did not have any public comment cards on this one.
Okay. Hearing so, we're going to close the public hearing and entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve the final plat for a 5-lot subdivision at the south end of Camino del Sol.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
No. I oppose.
All right. Moving on to item C. Public hearing consideration and discussion on ordinance 2023-931 to rezone approximately 20 acres of land from agriculture residential 5-acre AR5 to single-family residential 1-acre SR1.
Good evening again, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of council. As read, this is a requested rezone from AR5 to SR1 with the intention to develop a subdivision named Homestead. The applicant is in attendance this evening. The subject property is approximately 20 acres in size and located at the northeast intersection of West Road 3 South and South Road 1 West. To the north of this property, one parcel away, is the existing slaughterhouse that is on South Road 1 West. This is west of State Route 89 if you travel down West Road 2 South. It is important to note that the town boundary, actually I think we do have it here. So the town boundary, this straddles the county, town of Chino Valley limits. County is west of South 1 West, and then anything here that's colored in is considered town limits. The subject property is currently AR5, and that requested zoning of SR1 was determined by staff to be in conformance. General land use map for this area is medium density residential 2 acres or less. So that requested zoning district of SR1 is in conformance with the town's general land use map. Even though this isn't a final plat or any plat of sorts, we're just talking zoning entitlements tonight. It is important to present what the conceptual plan that the applicant has put together. It is for a 15-lot subdivision. All of them will be roughly 1 acre in size or greater. They will have a drainage tract that does transverse south to north. They will be providing extra or the required dedication along South 1 West as well as West Road 3 South. And then the properties are proposed to be on well and septic. Staff did receive 2 letters of opposition throughout this whole process. Both were from the same gentleman, James Cracker, and I apologize if I said your last name wrong. One was submitted for the Planning and Zoning Commission, and the other one was for Town Council itself. This did go before the Planning and Zoning Commission at the beginning of the month, and the Planning and Zoning Commission forwarded to Town Council a recommendation of denial for this project. So with that, I will open it up for questions or discussion from council.
Any questions to my left?
Can you go back a couple slides?
Sure. Which one are you looking for?
The zoning ones for the, right there. Thank you.
There's no water there.
Correct.
No, I mean
Oh.
like ground water, well water. That's like a dry area.
We can bring Frank up and he can discuss that if you would like.
Possibly.
All right. Tom?
That AR5 to SR1 is complicated at the least. Not sure I want to see that because everything pretty much east and south of him is AR5 at least. I did drive by the property today and looked at the size of the lots and where the houses were situated. I'm not sure I can go to SR1 on that piece of property.
Okay. Do you have a question for Will? Up.
I'm almost afraid to speak here. Okay. The well situation.
Sure.
I was at the planning and zoning, and it's heavy with arsenic. And they were waiting on a report, which I don't know if it came back. But they're well aware of it, heavy with arsenic, because they're going to put filtration systems in all of it. So I see that as a huge negative. And there was a lot of traffic, and that road is not made for traffic. It's not made for the traffic that it gets now. Sure. And that's the only way in and out is one west. But you can't go up 3 unless you have a bulldozer or a tank.
Correct.
That's it.
Sure. Annie?
I don't have any questions for Will at the moment.
Eric?
Well, the well situation is up, or no well, it's up to the developer whether he wants to develop or not. Arsenic is up to the developer whether loan will go through. I just, like I told you, Will, I want to see the water certificate.
Whoa, we don't do that here.
Sorry, my mic was off. Can you hear me now?
Okay.
Sorry about that. So I said, the well situation is up to the developer whether there's no water or not. That's the risk he's willing to take. Arsenic is up to him as well. It's not up to the town to decide that. What I do want to see is the certificate of
Sure.
what's it
water
called?
supply.
Water supply. Sure, water supply. Yes, thank you.
So yeah, those typically come in through the final plat. We don't grant a final plat unless we have those. So we are talking zoning, but if that is something you would like to condition, you're more than within your power, I believe.
Yes.
I'll look to Andrew for this.
Andrew's busy.
Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, I think we have in this this instance, the zoning cases in front of you. Zoning conditions typically involve whether or not the property is developable at that level. If you want to add a requirement that they comply with the current subdivision rules, both of the town and of the state, you're fine to do so. It's already required of them.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Good. Was there a question for Frank that I missed that Frank had to come up on? That Annie, you had a conversation?
No, it was a statement that that's a dry water area. So I'm happy to hear that there'd be a assured water supply certificate.
Okay.
All right.
I don't think we need you, Frank.
We do appreciate you, though.
Don't worry, your boss got you covered.
Does anyone have any questions for the applicant?
I do.
Okay, can the applicant come up? Oh, it's Mr. Bates again.
Mr. Mayor, Council, Jay Bates, Right Homes. Yes, sir.
Would you be willing, when we get down to the final plat, should this get approved tonight on the zoning, to maybe do an HOA or CCNR to ensure the preservation of that neighborhood?
Yes, those CCNRs have already been developed and they're recorded with the county right now. Our assured water certificate, we've met all the criteria and it should be issued within the next couple weeks.
Right. The water part is ADWR. I get all that. I'm just more worried because there's a stigma
Sure,
with
absolutely.
manufactured homes. I mean, everybody knows it. But I've been to a lot of communities where if they have strong CCNRs or an HOA, it can be maintained and it can look presentable and nice for a long period of time. I just wanted your commitment that you were going to pursue that so that they don't become a problem for the rest of the surrounding area.
Absolutely, absolutely. We, the CCNRs, like I say, have already been developed and they've already been recorded with the county recorder for that.
I appreciate that.
homestead.
That's all I have for you. Thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions?
What size homes are they going to be?
They'll probably be between 1,500 and 2,000 square feet. They'll all, we do front porches, typically 12 by 18. We do patios on the back, typically 15 by 25 on all of our homes. We do driveways in. We typically put either driveway rock or something around the whole house. So when the people in the wintertime, they can walk around their whole house and not have to drag mud into the house, things like that. That's our standard practice.
I'm good.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to declare a public hearing open.
I do have comment cards on this one.
Okay.
We'll start with Brad McGee.
Hi, good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council. My name is Brad McGee, and I reside on South Road 1 West. I just had a couple questions, a couple maybe for Council, and then just some general comments. I was at the Planning Commission meeting where the applicant was vetoed 4 votes to 3, and I'm questioning why it gets to a council vote when the planning requirements have not been met. I'm a little confused how it can get up to a zoning when the applicant still does not have the certificates in place to actually sustain a 1 acre lot versus what it's planned for is 5 right now. I bought a property across the street actually from the slaughterhouse. I'm on a 5 acre lot. My restrictions are 2.5 acres if I wanted to split that property up. And I'm pretty sure that the applicant knew what he was buying when he bought that property, that he could only do 5 acre lots. So I think that the council should wait until all the paperwork is finalized, including the water rights, to make sure that that property can actually sustain what the applicant has requested to put in there. The road is an issue. I thank you for the council member to bring that up. It's not sustainable currently the way it is today. If there's 15 homes in there with 3 cars each, you're looking at least three times that in traffic. Like the council member said, there's only 2 ways in, and the road, literally when you're driving down the road, people have to stop and let cars pass by so they can go on the opposite side of the road to get around that traffic. It's not sustainable today, and it's nowhere near ready for this type of construction. The other thing I would recommend is the water as an issue. It is dropping 2 feet per year, and putting wells in that area would obviously add to that issue. The other thing I'd bring up, one of the other speakers may bring it up as well, is the sign that was actually posted there just has a typo in it. It actually says January meeting 2022, not 2023. So I just wonder if the detail, if the sign is incorrect, what else are we missing? So I would just urge the council to consider making sure that all the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted when they approve or disapprove this applicant. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, I have Susie Bailey.
My name is Susie Bailey. I'm a resident in Yavapai County on the 2.5 acre side on 3 South. Have lived there for 17 years, lived in this county for about 33, and have sold real estate for the last 22 of those years. I deal in a lot of rural properties as well as planned developments, so I see this often where a buyer will buy a piece of property that isn't zoned for his end use or desired end use. Sometimes it's okay and sometimes it isn't. In this particular case, I agree with Mr. McGee's comments. I think you're going to hear a few more of these comments tonight about the Road 1 West issue. The ingress egress in this particular parcel is going to be difficult at best, and since the county is the overriding, interest in that road, I'm not exactly sure how town of Chino Valley would be integrated with the county in order to widen that road and what it would require in terms of buying right away. Also, just to bring up the potential for bringing water in, we have Wagon Wheel Ranch within 1,400 feet of this particular parcel, and that would cost the developer about $800, maybe at the current rate of what Mr. Marbury said, to bring in water at least, so that we don't have 15 new wells in the area. That might be a consideration, being that our water table is difficult in that area. The other thing is sewer, but sewer is more than a mile away, so I think that would probably be out of the question. Perhaps you could do something more of a centralized grinder system or something like that, like an Inscription Canyon or somebody has, maybe a smaller scale, but do some sort of centralized sewer system without tapping into the town sewer until you guys get that direction. Most of the development looks like is going north. So my main concern is not that he develops his property, but that he develops his property properly. We know the minor land division exists for these types of people, and that would certainly, I think, behoove him. And considering that he's doing this Camino de la Cida, I wasn't aware of that tonight, that he was actually doing that one as well on Perkinsville, but I know that he's done a couple other things on Perkinsville Road, and was required to get subdivision approval from the Department of Real Estate. It started as sort of a wildcat split and then ended up getting hand slapped for not having a public report filed. So they immediately fast-tracked a public report to get that done. I'm glad to see that one already has that in place. But a 5 split, it would be my recommendation, if I had a recommendation, to utilize that property properly. Just do a minor land division, put in some nice homes. At the current rate, comps are going to be comping out at about between probably $290 and $300 a foot for the type of home that he's talking about. So that's very doable, as it is to do a sewer
Ma'am,
extension for 70 feet
Excuse
at that price per home. If his
Ma'am,
homes,
your time's up.
I'm sorry, but his homes would certainly pay for that development.
Thank you. I have Adam Haywood.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council. I just wanted to talk and speak to the nature of the 1 acre homes. If you could pull up one of those exterior pictures. I brought some pictures loaded, and I know that this is something that we're all familiar with. Here's essentially a picture of what we're trying to do. This is one of the houses sitting on a 1 acre parcel. It came into question a lot with the density, or are we trying to cram stuff in here? And when we picked for 1 acre zoning, we were really trying to maintain with the rural characteristic feel of Chino Valley. We weren't wanting to cram into a half acre, wanting to really stuff things in. So this is a good example. This is going out in Dewey. So there is a little, this is more sparse, not as much grass, but kind of is the characteristic feel of what would be going on there with a nice paved road coming in. As far as the water, we're confident in the state statutes that the state sets the rules for that, and make us jump through all kinds of hoops, and that if we're able to meet the laws regarding that situation, that satisfies that all the people in the community and all the people in the local area off of that local piece of the aquifer are protected by what we're doing, and that we're not gonna, and that our efforts in this subdivision aren't gonna put people out. If you could put up the picture of the interior. Mobile homes do have a huge stigma about them, but this right here is a good example of the types of the interior of the types of homes that they're trying to do. It's come a long way. It's come to where when you think trailer park or think mobile home, what that actually plays out with now is a lot different. The construction is a lot more robust. The interiors are much more nice. I know this is pretty far ahead of our zoning discussion right now, but it is good to keep in mind that this is the type of thing that they're going for, and also that the town has laid down significant requirements as far as the dedication of land, the improvement of this edge of Road 1 West, taking into account drainage, and that this subdivision and community will it'll improve. Yes, it will create more density in this area, but it will improve the surrounding areas as far as what we're legally allowed to do along Road 1 West, dedicating more land to the town, and then dedicating that south road along our boundary. Cool. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, I have Larry Yentes. Okay. Ken Kronvold? Thank you.
Council, Mayor, I'm a resident of Chino Valley, been here for 19 years. I moved from Prescott with the purpose of getting out of the city and into a rural area. I voted for you 2 elections ago. I voted for 3 of the council members, all for the same reason. You've mentioned rural and water. I just want you to stand up for what you said. I was at a meeting with Mr. Bates. Those homes that he's planning to put in, he said the starting price was going to be about $350,000. 15 wells, all with specialized arsenic protection programs. And that just doesn't seem rural to me. I want to thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And next we have Lee Yarbrough.
Can you put up the map picture? My only real concern is the roadway, Road 1 West. So if you're going to put 16 houses in there, they're getting ready to do something across from the cemetery further west on Road 2, and they're going to put another 15 houses or something right there on the north side of Road 2, closer to Maverick. So that's going to be, what, 45 houses with at least 2 cars each. That's 90 cars going up and down those roads every day. Those roads are, Road 1 West is falling apart. I don't know if you guys ever drive down Road 1 West. I do every day. It's a mess. So if you're going to add that many more cars to that roadway, it's bad enough already. So when we met at the thing, they said it's going to cost, how much was it? How many millions per mile to redo the roads, you said? You don't remember? Okay. It was a lot of money. So anyway, my thing is the roadways. Thank you.
Mayor, that's all I had.
That's all?
That's all.
All right. Wow. So we'll close the public hearing and then see if council has any questions about to anyone over the statements.
Kinda.
Sure can, Frank. Your turn, please. No, this Frank. Our Frank. Sorry.
I just felt like you were
Pick a
neglected, so we want to give you some attention. Is Road 1 West from Outer Loop to wherever, is it already on a schedule to be redone?
More of a wish.
Okay.
So we go out with through the Roads and Streets Committee. They've developed and it's been adopted in the budget about a 5-year outlook so far.
Okay.
And that road is not on the 5-year outlook.
Okay. Based on your experience, there was no traffic study required for this development, was there? Or for this rezone, was there?
Not at the zoning level. That is usually done during technical review.
Roads came up several times.
Right.
Based on your experience and what you know of the condition of that road and everything, would this development significantly impede the natural flow of traffic on that road as it sits today?
Flow of traffic or the condition of
The
the road?
condition, both, I guess.
Okay. Because as an engineer, they're somewhat different. The traffic levels for 15 lots, we go off trips per day. The average home is generally about 10 trips per day. So that's between cars coming and going, deliveries, school buses, garbage trucks, that sort of thing. So in our manuals, when we generate traffic, for a single family home, apartments are different. So, but traffic on 1 West is not that high for a 2-lane road. But it would add approximately 10 trips per day per home. Anytime you add a home, you're adding about 10 more trips per day on the adjacent roadways. And as far as condition goes, the biggest factor with our road conditions is the fact that and I believe 1 West is one of those roads too, chip seal over existing dirt with no structure. So it's basically trying to keep the dust down and the water out, and they're old, and it's expensive to replace them. I can answer the question about costs. Right now for reconstructing roads, we're running, for a 2-lane roadway with no curb and gutter, we're running about $1 million a mile. And that's the cost. So we're just, as every council member knows, we're way behind on our road conditions, and as much money as you can throw at them, I can find a place to sink it.
So the bottom line, in your opinion, based on your experience, does this project pose, as presented, a concern for the road?
That's a hard question to answer because the roads are
I know
already
you're an
in
engineer. It's got to be
bad
exact.
condition.
I got it.
So, but any added traffic will speed up the degradation of the road. But considering the number of lots in the neighborhood subdivision, it's not a huge subdivision, but anytime you add traffic, it's going to speed up how much the road deteriorates. We're working on a pavement management program for the town. That would help us give me more of a objective opinion of what would happen in cases like that. Say if we could repave the road, how long it would last, and added traffic numbers and that sort of thing. We're just not at that level of sophistication yet.
Thank you.
Frank, one question real quick. The zoning directly to the north of the subject property, what is that?
Wagon wheel?
That's Will question. I think it's
Oh,
the
okay.
crosshatched area she's talking about.
It is a remnant zoning left over from the good old days. It's considered multifamily residential mobile home park.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Will, you want to stay here? Sure. Anything else for Frank? Thank you, Frank. Well, I understand that this is a zoning request to change this from AR5 to SR1. My question is if we rezone this, if we approve this tonight, and say they don't get their assured water supply, or they don't get whatever else is needed from the state or the county, what happens to this zoning? Does it revert back, or does it stay whatever it's changed to?
As it's written, it would stay. I'm going to look to Andrew again as far as what we can condition if other aspects fail.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, the zoning is in place until you all remove it via the same process you put it in place.
Is there a stipulation that you can approve it with, with successful acquisition of a assured water supply? And
Well, let me break that in two pieces. The law currently requires you to have assured water supply in order to get the subdivision. So they wouldn't be able to move forward with the subdivision without that. In terms of a stipulation that dealt with if they don't achieve that by a certain date, then a reversion back, the reversion would still be subject to going back through the whole process. The council would initiate it, it would go to P&Z and come back to you all to do so. So if you're looking at time condition, if that's the way you would do it, it would just be subject to the same process. It would never automatically revert.
okay.
Would that be like a sunset clause? if they don't effectuate the change within a certain amount of time, sunset clause would go back to its original zoning?
No, he said it has to come back through council.
Because it seems like we've done it on commercial. We put the language in there when we said from commercial heavy to commercial light or back and forth. And I've read it and we voted on it before.
It still had took council action to remove it.
Okay.
Yeah.
One last one.
Sure.
The road condition, is there any conditions that can be implied to repair the road to take for the say Perkinsville 44 where they redid the road there?
Sure.
In front of their subdivision.
So they'll be held to that same standard. They'll be required for half-width improvements similar to Perkinsville.
But it'd probably only be in front of the property.
That is correct.
How many feet in front of the property?
Whatever their boundary is. I don't know if I can zoom in on this here. Oh. A real zoom. Did I lose it? Yeah.
Your assistant.
Yes,
there.
please, Frank, while I try to work this.
BFFs.
Of course, the engineer is going to qualify the statement, but typically with road improvements, we only require widening the additional amount. As far as replacing the existing lane that's there now, I haven't seen that here to date. It doesn't mean it can't be done if it's legally feasible, but I just wanted to put that out there now that the typical requirements would be widened in addition to the existing pavement. If the existing pavement's not 24 feet wide, in this case, we had asked to widen out to 24 feet and the 40 foot of right of way from center line.
I saw New Street up there. Can we go back to that?
And
Don't get my hopes up. New Street right there.
New Street
What
will
is
be
that?
internal.
Okay.
We're looking at it'll be the distance from the northern property line to the southern property line. I unfortunately do not have a number specific to that at this point.
Okay, anything else?
Well, yeah, kind of. Well, I don't have questions more. I don't have questions.
Okay.
I do have conversation.
Thank you, fellers. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so this is a zoning issue. And the zoning, could you move back to, thank you, read my mind. The zoning to the north is single-family residential, 1 acre minimum.
Mm-hmm.
Specifically addressing the zoning, it is in alignment with the the neighboring properties. The properties to the west, I understand, are in county. Are they AR5 or do we know what they are? We don't know.
Probably 2 acre.
2 acre?
I don't know.
Okay.
Do you know the answer to that? Well,
County zoning district for those lots would be RCU 2A, different standard completely from what Chino Valley has.
Okay, so here I go with my opinions. Okay, so in mentioning rural and Chino Valley, I had no problem living on a dirt road that was always messed up, and the neighbors all got together and we pitched in and we paid someone to pave it. I understand it's a town road. I understand there are concerns with adding more homes. This is a rezoning that's being brought to us. I understand that the applicant has plans for the future, but as a council and mayor, we also need to think more long term, not wishing any harm on or ill will on the developer. But this is specific to zoning, not his future projects. And I honestly don't see a problem if there's a certificate of assured water supply and for his down the road plans. I don't see why we would not approve this because it is in conformance and matches the surrounding zoning in the town of Chino Valley.
any other comments?
I think Ms. Perkins said that very well. I agree with her. It seems everything Will's articulated, and it's consistent. I mean, SR1 right there. It's all their neighbors. It would seem inconsistent to say, no, it's not appropriate when everybody else has it. And I did drive the road this week or this morning, and I did see 6 or 7 manufactured homes on that street. So it just seems consistent with me. The water and all that, that's an ADWR, and if there's water there, they'll give him their certificate. If there's no water there, he's not moving forward.
Any other comments?
Yeah, a little bit. Based on what we've heard, looking at the maps, based on also the recommendation from the Planning and Zoning Commission, I'd have to go no.
Well, it doesn't matter. You don't have
Doesn't
to tell
matter.
me.
We're not voting yet.
We're gonna vote.
Could you explain
Any other
your-
comment?
Could you explain why?
Okay.
Sure, the Planning and Zoning Commission looked at this and dealt more in water probably than they needed to, but they also looked at the surrounding area, and I'm looking at the surrounding area, and yeah, there's SR1 to the north. It's separated from this property by a mobile home forgotten zoning thing and a rendering plant or a packing plant, whichever they choose to call, and everything northeast and southeast and due east is all AR5, and if he was going to 2.5, maybe, but going to SR1, you know, we've been fighting SR1 for a long time, and I don't want to change that now.
Any other comments?
I do have one comment. On one of the things on the P and Z, they were gonna have everybody sign waivers that they wouldn't go after the packing plant, which we all know. That doesn't stand up anywhere.
The owner of the property south and east of this, were they in attendance with neighborhood meetings? Do we know?
I couldn't hear you.
Sorry
Will
to bring you
heard
back up.
Sure thing. They were not. That property is owned by a profit sharing LLC. It's got about 300 people a part of that LLC.
Okay. So just let that. Could you repeat that one more time?
Yes, the ownership of that parcel, that large acreage to the east and to the south, is owned by a profit sharing LLC. So it consists of about 300 individuals.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So be careful what you wish for.
Okay. We're all done? Let's entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve the rezone 2023-91, approximately 20 acres of land from agricultural residential 5-acre AR5 to single-family residential 1-acre SR1.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded. Should we do a roll call? Would that be easier for y'all? Please?
Yes, thank you. Councilmember Shacker,
No.
Councilmember Perkins,
Yes.
Councilmember Phillips,
Yes.
Councilmember McCafferty,
Yes.
Councilmember Armstrong,
Nay.
Vice Mayor Granillo,
Yes.
Mayor Miller.
Aye.
So I have 5-2, pass.
Okay.
Thank you.
Got it.
Motion carries. Sherry?
I make a motion to adjourn regular meeting and convene into executive session.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned.
Nice job, Sherry.
Exactly.